Hello and welcome everybody. It's nice to see you all. Thank you for coming. Today's event is brought to you by MCSC Women's Business Center, serving SLO, Kern, and Monterey counties. We offer low and no cost assistance and training to budding entrepreneurs and small businesses. You can take advantage of no-cost one-on-one business consulting with professionals in social media, e-commerce, business plans, licensing, cash flow analysis, and recovery stages. Our contact information is on the screen, and I will put it in the chat box in a little bit. So I'd like to thank Niss Noble for presenting today. She is a professional sales and leadership coach at Southwestern Coaching, as well as a consultant for MCSC Women's Business Center. So what that means is that if you want to work with her after this is over, you can do that through MCSC at no charge. Her career has spanned many disciplines, and she knows firsthand what it takes to grow a profitable company, to be a top producer and a successful leader. As a door-to-door saleswoman, she was top rookie with sales in the top 1% of over 2,000 salespeople. As an entrepreneur, she founded 4 successful businesses and designed thousands of unique, top-selling SKUs by age 30. Niss is not only a practitioner of everything she teaches, but she is passionate about sharing it with other entrepreneurs like you. So we are glad that you are here for this today. You're in for a treat. So I just wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. Please limit your distractions and mute your phone. We will be taking questions through the chat box. Go ahead and type them in whenever you think about them, and she will be addressing those when it's appropriate. And this webinar is being recorded. A link will be provided to you once the recording is processed. So without further ado, I give you to Niss.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, hang on one sec. I'm just going to share my screen because I have PowerPoint. I've come prepared. Let's see if I can get that to share. Sometimes it doesn't like to share. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Niss. I know it's kind of a weird one, but we're gonna get through it. I've gotten through it in my life so far. I just wanted to make sure I can get you guys, here we are. I like to see your smiling faces. So for those of you that are brave, I would love to see your faces. Feel free to take off and share your screen. I see that someone has. I can't see your name, but oh, there's Chuck. Good morning. Good morning. All right. So thanks so much, Barbara and MCSC, for having me here today. I'm excited to chat with you guys. And let's get going. I know Barbara did a great introduction of me. Here's a little bit more stuff. I've been in SLO for 15 years, so it's crazy how time flies. And I'm just excited to be. I've done some stuff on my own. I've ran a couple businesses myself, and I just really, really enjoyed the giving back part and working with people. So I'm really excited to be working with MCSC now and helping grow your businesses and whatever it is that your dreams are. So I do want to start off with a little icebreaker. So if you could, go ahead and put your name and your first job in the chat box. Usually there's some really interesting. This is me a little bit before my first job, but but my first job, real technical job, besides like my lemonade stand that my dad and I did, was I worked at a restaurant and I was a hostess. So hostess and then dishwasher. So I'm curious what we have in here. Chuck, you did yard work for the neighbors. That's great. What kind of, you feel free to unmute. It's weird for me to not hear people's voices. So, but what kind of yard work did you do?
Oh, I was like 10 or 12 years old, and my parents made me do it for the neighbors while they were on vacation.
Oh, was that
I don't know if I learned any good character building, but I got it done, and they gave me 50 cents when they got back, so yay.
That's awesome. Like leaf sweeping and lawn mowing?
Yeah.
Nice. And then Courtney, hails from Pizza Hut. Were you making the pizzas? Oh, I'm gonna wait and hear.
I think I was just making pizzas in-house, yeah.
Yep.
Never wanting to eat Pizza Hut pizza after that.
I bet, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, I know. I would always, you like smell like it afterwards.
Right.
Um, so it looks like JH helped out at 4-H, the Christmas tree lot. That's a cool job. Barbara, you're a waitress. It looks like Gay, you're a camp counselor. That's fun. That's
I also worked at Pizza Hut.
you did. Oh, that's fun. Oh man, was there any like least favorite job, like cutting the pepperonis, or I don't know what you would do. I didn't work at Pizza Hut, but
Dishwashing. As a waitress, you had to do all of it.
okay, cool. Well, thanks so much for sharing, you guys. I like to just break the ice a little bit. I think these types of events are best if they're a little bit interactive, and then you can really see yourself in the content. So thanks so much for sharing. One thing I will share, just as a starter, I mean, we're only here for an hour. I'm going to give you some things that are going to be helpful, hopefully, in sales. And it's going to have to be a little bit more generic because I don't assume to know your backgrounds. I mean, now I know what some of you guys did. And it looks like Brian was a stock boy and Christine did some small home repairs and handiwork. So, all right, Christine. Hello, Christine. It's good to see you. I know you. I'll have to message you whenever I need some handiwork around the house. But in any case, the goal of today is to give you a few things you can walk away with that hopefully help you, and really just to take a few minutes to be introspective, think about where you're at, and what are a couple things. Like, I'm hoping as we go through today, there'll be one or two things that you kind of go, okay, like I could do a little bit better at that, or I could learn a little bit more about that. And that's where afterwards, if you were interested, you could talk to Barbara or myself, and reach out to Mission Community and see if maybe there's some resources available for you in that area. All right, so speaking of being introspective, I'd love for each of us to just take a minute. I know 2020 has been a unique year, and I'd love for you just to take a minute and really just think about where you're at. It's middle September in 2020, and I'm sure you had some big dreams and goals and things that you wanted to achieve with your business. Maybe it was you were starting the business. Maybe you wanted to get that first sale. Maybe it was to open a new location. And I'm sure that the year has gone a little bit different than we all expected. But we still have a few months left, and I think it's really easy for all of us to resolve ourselves to, oh, well, I'll just do it next month, or I'll do it next year, or this year sucks, and we can get in that mindset. So just going into this, take a minute and think about some things that you're really hoping to get out of this year. And if anyone is brave enough to share, you're welcome to do that. I will share one of mine. One of mine is to get my health back on track. So that's kind of this year has been a focus on my health. So moving on, I'm going to talk a little bit. So the company that I work for and have worked with in the past is a sales organization. So I have a lot of experience working with salespeople in most commission-based businesses. I also have some e-commerce experience. So sales kind of around the globe. And I think one of the things that I see, and actually I'm going to go back to this slide really quick. One of the things that we see is that people have kind of a bad impression of the word sales, or a salesman, or a salesperson. We don't want to become pushy, salesy, uncomfortable. There's that. Some of you probably have this idea of like a snake oil sort of used car salesman type person, and really my goal in my work and what I've done in the past is really to elevate sales. And that's twofold. One is to help you to make more sales, because let's face it, none of our businesses are going anywhere if we're not making sales in some capacity, whether that's a click on a website, or it's in person, or at the farmer's market, or wherever it is. And the other side is to elevate the practice and the perception of sales, helping people to teach to sell ethically without shortcuts, to find ways to do that job in a better way, and also so that you feel more empowered about it. Making sales, being a salesperson in whatever facet you are. I don't know, like I said before, I can't assume to know where each of you are at. Some of you may be doing direct sales with people, and some of you may be a merchant or selling online, but having some pride in that sale, right? And getting excited about being in sales and the selling of a good or a service. So with that being said, we've worked with a lot of different people in lots of different facets of sales. And there are some habits that all of them have that I'm going to share with you today that help them to be the best that they can be at sales. So this is a little bit more on the mindset side. We're going to start there about us. This is about us being us and us working on ourselves. And then we'll go into some kind of technical tidbits and things too. So the first habit, before we get into habits, we need to discuss what the areas are that are important to create a habit. So in order to be good at your job, we all need skills. I mean, typically I would ask people what kind of skills you think of in terms of your work. That might be interpersonal skills, it could be marketing skills, it could be just product knowledge or industry knowledge, a number of skills. So those are things that we all need. And the next thing is motivation. So I don't know if any of you know somebody like this, but you probably know someone that's really good at whatever it is that they do. Maybe they're a great artist, or they're fantastic at talking to people, or building things, but they just don't care. Like, they don't actually get up and go and do the things day after day. And so you kind of need both of those things in order to move forward. The next thing is systems. So I don't know if any of you guys have any systems that you use, but a lot of people think of a CRM, or perhaps their calendaring system, but this one is really important. And I actually had wanted to do a whole session on this, but I realized that it's a little bit boring. But time management is a really important system. And I know a lot of people don't love time management. It's not the sexiest topic, but it really is a way for us to take control of our day and make sure that we're managing each minute. How do we automate things? How are we delegating? I would assert that all of us have probably had a 30-minute workout that was better than a 60-minute workout. And I mean, if you want to think about just for a minute why that is, I know for me, if I'm going at the gym for 30 minutes, I'm okay. I know I'm gonna go to this section and this section. I want to hit abs. I want to do biceps, right? I know I have a plan and I've mapped it out. And then there are other times when I go into the gym and I'm just kind of like, I don't know, I'm just touching dumbbells and like I'm just not there, and I waste a bunch of time. And I think that's, we go through our days that way. We go through our weeks that way and our years, and we really just aren't being very efficient. So those three things together, and what ties those three things, so those are kind of the three areas that we need in order to be good at something. The thing that ties those together is habits. So that really just kind of keeps us from being a roller coaster. Maybe we do really well one month in terms of, maybe it's in terms of our sales, maybe it's in terms of how we are as a leader, how we are as a spouse, how we are as a parent. And then the next month something happens and we kind of just, and then we ride this roller coaster over and over again. So making habits in these three things really keeps us consistent. And the way that we build a habit is you find some accountability. So that could be working with with other mentors. I mean, that's why a lot of people will get a mentor or work with people like us at Mission Community. But finding someone, it could be a spouse, it could be a parent, or even, even your kids, but actually doing that job of saying, hey, I really want to meet this goal. Can you hold me accountable? These are the things that I want to do. I know when I tell my boyfriend that, hey, I don't want to eat dessert anymore, I definitely really think about it before I like pick up that muffin, right? Because he's right there, and I'm like, oh, I told you that that I didn't want to do that. So that's just one easy way that you can go so much further in meeting your goals, is to find some kind of accountability partner. All right, so there are 3 habits that all top producers have. So the people that are doing the best of the best in sales. The first one, and these are simple, guys. The first one is just they don't make excuses. I mean, they do. Everybody has this little devil on their shoulder that's like saying things all day, but they don't really listen to that. They don't privilege that voice. They're like, no, you know what? That is an excuse, and I'm going to actually find a way to do the things that I want to do. And this is really big. This is what changes our self-image. This defines our behaviors, and that in turn changes our results. It's really reprogramming your thoughts. And I don't usually I would ask for participation here, but I won't put you guys on the spot to ask for excuses. But I know that all of us at some point or another are making some excuses, whether it's, oh, it's just too smoggy outside, I'm not going to work out today, or maybe it's, this year is just terrible, so I'm not going to do anything with my business this year. I'm just going to put it all on hold till next year. And we all know that mindset builds up and stops us from getting where we want to go. All right, the second one is that they're students of the game. So what that means is that really they're just taking the time to invest in themselves. This is all humility. And aren't those people the most fun to be around? The people that are just hungry and eager to learn and ready to pick up a book, or to say, hey, I don't know, like I would love to learn more about that. I always think those are the coolest people to have as friends and to be around, rather than the people that are arrogant. They kind of have a big ego. They think they already know everything. We find that the people that still say, I want to learn more. I don't want to assume that I know anything. Those are the people that tend to do the best. And the third thing is they take action. So they don't wait around. They don't just, they make sure that they're being really proactive with their time. And so again, just to be a little introspective again for a minute, I want you to, and you don't need to share this, but just to give yourself a self-assessment of kind of your own personal score of how much you take action on a daily basis. Okay, so I'll tell you what a 1 and what a 10 looks like, so you can have some kind of boundary to know what to work in. So a 10 would be every week, you know what a perfect week looks like for you. You know when you're having time with your family, you know when you're working, you know when you're on and you're doing the thing that you need to do, you're directing the business, you're starting a new project, and you already have that planned out. And so every single day you're just executing. You're like, I already know what my plan is. I'm doing it every single day. And at the end of the day, you feel good because you got it done. You're like, man, I did all the things on my list. I feel really good about myself. And so that would be a 10. Someone that's like a 1 or a 2 has really good intentions. Yes, I'm going to get these things done this week, but then they kind of just become more and more reactive as the week goes on. And right? You start your day, you open up email, and all of a sudden there's a fire, and then that just kind of rolls throughout the entire week. That would be like a 1 or a 2. Now, none of us are a perfect 10. Like, throw that idea out the window. I mean, maybe every once in a while we're going to get that, but I always think, you know, if I'm not at least an 8, 7 or an 8 on most weeks, then what is that costing me and my family? And I intentionally say what, because, you know, for some of us, yes, it could be costing us money in our business that are, you know, we're not moving our entrepreneurial endeavors forward. We're not making the sales that we need to, because we're just not being very proactive. But the flip side of that is that a lot of us are just, even if we're not losing sales, we're feeling bad at the end of the day. We feel guilt, a lot of guilt, right? Like, oh gosh, even if I'm at home with my family or with my kids, I'm on my phone, I'm checking email, I'm never actually present. And so when you're at home, you feel bad that you're not working. And when you're at work, you feel bad that you're not at home. So flip side, you know, if I am like a 5 and I could bring myself up to like a 7 most of the time, you know, what would that bring into my life? What would I achieve that I wouldn't otherwise have been able to? So just a little self-assessment there. Oh, and look, you guys are brave. Sharing your numbers. Look at that. That's awesome. I love it. I love it, the interaction. Lately I have not been, for myself, I have been more like a 3. I've had some health issues, and so it's been humbling. I'll put it that way, just to see what it's like to slow down. So, all right. So on that same topic, one thing I just want to touch on, and this is really a huge cost in anyone's business, is procrastination. And, you know, we all have overhead. We all have bills that we have to pay. We have payroll or any number of things that we pay for in our business. But one of the most expensive invisible costs that we just don't think about is procrastination. And I'll tell you a little bit about what that looks like, because a lot of us think of procrastination as like, oh, I'm actually actively going to put that off and not do it. But what it actually tends to be is something that we call creative avoidance. And when I describe it, you're going to be like, oh yeah, for sure. So what this looks like is, let's say you got in front of the computer, right? And you're getting ready to work for the day. And but that morning you just dropped your car off to get new tires, right? And so you get on the computer. First thing in your inbox is an email from the tire place, from the tire pros. And the tires are more expensive than you thought they were going to be, right? So what do? You Google tires. You start Googling, how much are these tires? And you start looking and like, man, this is like $200 more than I thought. And you go down that path. And then you call your friend, like, hey, I know you got tires last week. Like, how much were those? And you kind of go down that path, right? So you start going down this path with the tires. And then before you know it, it's pretty close to lunchtime. So you're like, all right, well, I guess, you know, I might as well I'll go pick up the car. So you pick up the car. Your friend wants you to get lunch on the way, right? Or your wife or your husband. So you pick up lunch, you come back. Now we're close to maybe 1 o'clock after you eat lunch. And then what happens? You start your day over again by checking email. And you check email and there's some fire in your inbox that you're like, oh gosh, I really got to address this right away. And you start going down that path. All of a sudden, it's 4 o'clock. And where did the day go? It just went out the window. And you had some goals. You woke up in the morning, you thought, oh, I'm definitely going to make this project happen. I'm going to move this thing forward. I'm going to make these phone calls. And we just didn't do it. And it's not because we didn't want to or we didn't plan to. It's just because we allowed all of these other things to kind of steal our time. And that's what we call creative avoidance or procrastination, because it just happens day after day. So I don't know if any of you have ever done anything like that, but I know I have. And so the way that we can really attack the creative avoidance, again, is creating a great schedule. And I know, so this is an example, kind of an example schedule. I know you're all like, man, that looks beautiful, but that'll never be me, right? Like I could never do that. And the idea here isn't so that you have this perfect schedule that you always make and you are right, that perfect 10. But there's a couple things that I know for sure. Number one, if you don't know what a perfect week looks like for you or an ideal week, you're never going to have one. You're never going to feel good at the end of the week in terms of like, man, that's what I really wanted to accomplish and that's what I got done. And the other thing is, there are certain things that we need to focus on in our weeks to move the needle, whether that is, you know, for me, it's like, I know I need to make a certain number of phone calls. I know I need to set up a certain number of appointments, and that's going to move my business forward. But for you, it might be, you know, there's some projects that need to happen. You need to have one-on-ones with your team, or you need to build out that business plan, or whatever those things are. And we call those income producing activities, things that really, they make you money and move the needle. And if we don't put them in our schedule and build a dang fence around it, then we're going to become just a slave to the creative avoidance all week long. So that's that. I'll skip this one. This one is a client of mine, and he went through this process, but I'll skip that for now. But anyway, there's another law that I want to talk about, and obviously this is a very, very complex graph, but we all fall prey to this law of diminishing intent. Brian, yeah, you're definitely creative, for sure. I just saw that in the chat. Yes, obviously you are all super creative at being procrastinators. Well, I won't get down that path, but I have a lot of thoughts about creativity. Anyway, so the law of a diminishing intent, it's just a simple human law. All it means is the longer that we wait before we do something, the less likely we are to do it. So every minute, day, hour that passes, we're just less likely to do that thing. Whether it's, you know, last week I meant to send my mom a birthday card. And then when that comes up in my head and I think, oh man, I need to do that, every minute or hour or day that passes, I'm less and less likely to do it. And this shows up in so many different ways. It shows up for ourselves, it shows up for our kids and our spouses, and it shows up for our customers too. So it's something to really be aware of, that we do need to help people to take action now on the things that are important to them. So those are the 3 habits that kind of separate the top producers from the average producers. And I'm just curious, for you, as you were listening to this, which one do you think would make the biggest difference in your life? If you were to choose one of these and work on it for the rest of the year, for the rest of 2020, you know, going back to those results that you wanted to achieve, which one would be the one that you think would help you the most? I see a couple 3s, taking action now, for sure, making a schedule. Okay, like, oh man, that schedule is like a love-hate relationship with the schedule. I think for me right now it's probably number 1, I would say. I need to be a little bit better at not making excuses. Cool. Well, so that, guys, was a little bit more, I'm going to kind of transition here, and we're going to, if it's okay, we'll get a little bit nerdy on some sales stuff. We'll go through the cycle of the sale. So like I said, this side with these habits and really thinking, this is really personal. This is you working on you. And now we're going to kind of work on, with the sales side, a little more external, how I influence and affect other people's emotions. So when you study emotional intelligence, there's the internal side. It's like self-management, self-awareness. And then external is more social management, social awareness. And so you can help people through helping them act and behave differently. You can help more families. Does that make sense? So the way that we interact with others is going to influence the way that they act and behave, and whether or not they take action, so you can make more sales or help your employees to reach their goals. So that's what we're going to do now. And so this is the cycle of the sale. Every industry, every sale goes through these 7 steps. I'm just going to go through these kind of fast, and we can dive into one as an example. But everything that's sold follows these kind of generic steps, and some of the words might be a little different. So I'm hoping you can really think about it in terms of your business and what it is that you're trying to achieve. And hopefully there's going to be 1 or 2 spots that are going to kind of pop out at you like, okay, I could do a little bit better there, or I could learn how to do that a little bit more. And for those of you that aren't in sales, these steps still apply. You may have not seen this before, but it's going to make total sense to you. So the first step in any sale is the pre-approach. So we learn a little bit about someone that we were referred to, or someone that's going to be buying from us. For example, hopefully you guys are all asking for referrals, which is something we could definitely, a lot of people don't, so it's definitely something we could talk about. But assuming you were, you would ask for a little bit of pre-approach. Learn a little something about that person that you're going to be talking to, or you're going to be selling to. And so you get that pre-approach, and then you're going to go into your approach. So the approach is when you actually text the person, talk to the person, send them an email, whatever that first touch point is, that's the approach. And this is where we really can identify somebody's buying behaviors and learn how we adapt our language to serve them. So an example that I'll give you is, so I just did a workshop for Idler's Home Stores. So I don't know if you guys know them, but they've got 3 locations, and they sell furniture and bedding and mostly appliances. So the example that I used with them was, I'm going to give you the referral of my friend Jill Stolmeyer, right? So if I was going to tell you that Jill is renovating her house and she's looking for furniture and appliances, I'm going to tell you in the pre-approach stage a little bit about Jill, and you should ask me about Jill, right? And then when you approach Jill, this is where you're going to figure out a little bit about who she is and her buying behaviors. So this is there's a lot of detail in here, but Jill is what we call an entertainer. There's 4 different types of buying behaviors. One is an entertainer, there's a detective, there's a counselor, and a fighter. And we don't have time to go into all of those, but basically Jill is an entertainer like me. So she's like, love stories, make it fun, like bring feelings. She makes decisions all about feelings. So when you approach her, it's going to be more with that feeling approach, okay? But somebody that's more like Brian Idler over there, he's a little bit more of a counselor. So he wants to have a little bit more of a decision by consensus. It's going to be a little slower. So this is just a place where we can kind of start to play with some different people. Somebody like my friend Ariel Shannon, who used to own Bluebird Salon, she's a fighter, right? She's like, don't give me that fluff. Like, tell me what you got. Why are we having this conversation? So it's gonna be a little bit quicker. So after we approach them, we're gonna go into the introduction. So the introduction, this is really the fact finding, or kind of the needs analysis, might be taught of that way. This is where we kind of find out about the person. So if in our example with Jill, it would be, we're learning a little bit more about her, what her life is like. So we're finding out facts. And then the next step, this is the one that most of us are really familiar with. This is the presentation. Okay, this is the logic of the sale. This is where we present the facts, the features, the benefits. This is my product. This is what it does for you, right? So it's very logic-based. And then after that, we're going to go into the close. So we're going to close them. And a close is really a yes or a no. We're just bringing them to a decision. A lot of people think closing is like pushy and uncomfortable, but really closing is helping someone to just make a decision so they're not stuck in a maybe land. So giving them enough information so that they can either say yes or no. And then after that, you know, maybe you're really good, like maybe you're chugging along, and let's say, for example, that you guys are selling, somebody in here is selling mugs, and you sell the mug. You present the mug, and oh, this mug is so great, and the person is like, cool, done, sold, I want it. Or they're like, no, I don't like mugs at all. I'm more of like a pint glass kind of gal. It's like, okay, so you closed them, cool, you move on. But a lot of times, most of the time, we're gonna get objections or questions or hesitations or whatever you want to call it, right? Well, you know, maybe, but like I got to think about it, or I need to ask my wife before I buy a mug, or I don't know if I like the color. Okay, so usually we'll get an objection, and then really there's kind of a dance between the close and the objection, and maybe we're going to go back, we're going to represent something else. Oh, you don't like the color? Let me show you one in a different color. So it'll be representing, and then we'll reclose them, probably get more objections, but then we kind of go through that cycle. Everybody with me so far? Hopefully, yes. Okay. So after we close, then we're going to ask for referrals. And that's a big thing that most people don't do. They don't ask for referrals. And that referral is going to get us the pre-approach to the next person. So and again, this happens in every business, in every situation, whether you're clicking something online and buying it, and then they ask you, hey, tell a friend, or this happens every single time. So I bet there's a few spots in here where you're thinking, okay, I could be a little bit better about that, or gosh, I don't know how that works at all, and I would love to know. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of insight into the cycle of the sale. I'm going to touch, so Gay asked, what is the close? So the close is technically the sale. It's a yes or no. So when you close someone, you would ask them, there's, you know, a number of closes that you could say, but you would ask them, you know, would you like to move forward today? And it could be a close for an appointment, for example. So it could be, if I'm trying to meet with you, Gay, let's say, like I'm trying to set up an appointment with you, my close would be, are you more of a morning or an afternoon type of person? And then you'd say morning, and I would close you again. Okay, morning. How about Tuesday or Wednesday morning? So those are examples of closes. So that's a spiral close, or moving her down to make an appointment. Or it could be something direct. Would you like to meet on Wednesday, or does Wednesday sound good? And then they're going to say yes or no, and that's a close. So whether they say no or not, that's where the close is. And the objections typically, we're going to talk about that. So this is great. I love what Gay's talking about. She's saying objections would come before. So I'm actually going to go into one thought. A lot of people tend to think that a lot of people don't know what part of the sale is the most important. And really where the sale is made is typically in the introduction. And the reason why is because exactly what Gay just said. I don't know if you guys saw this in the chat, but she had a really great observation that she thought objections would come before the close. And they can, but typically that's because we didn't do a very good job of having a great introduction. So I don't know if you guys have ever been in a situation where people say, I need to think about it. Or, you know, can you call me in 6 months? Or, you know, I need to speak with my spouse. And if you hear this at the end of your presentation, and I mean, they're really just telling you no. But as salespeople, we have this internal hope and we really think they mean it. And we're like, yeah, okay, like I'll definitely call you back. And then we add all these to-do lists to ourselves about like following up with these people forever and ever and ever. But really what they're saying is you didn't sell me and you just wasted a whole lot of time. And so I'm actually going to teach you a way to go through the introduction, because here's the thing, if we don't ask the right questions in the introduction, I'm just going to go back to that really fast. The introduction is really where the sale is made. Most of the time, we jump really quickly into the presentation because we think that's where the sale is made. We think the sale is about the mug. And it is. I mean, it's not that they don't want the mug. But if we do a really good job in the introduction, we know what that customer is dealing with. We know what their pains are. We know what their lifestyle is like. And we can figure out whether the sale is for the mug or it's for a pint glass or what's going on. And so a lot of times if we're getting all of these objections before we even close, a lot of times it's because we didn't do a good job in the introduction. We just pushed right through it and we just started like kind of vomiting facts on them. Let me tell you about this mug. It's got a handle and it's blue inside. It holds coffee really well. But what we really need to do is learn more, be quiet, and listen to the customer and then help them to make a decision. Does that make sense? So if I could teach you a way that would, I mean, I'm not going to be able to eliminate objections. They're never, you know, that's not going to happen. But if I could teach you a way that would help prevent that about 90% of the time, would that be helpful? Yeah, I probably would. Yeah. Okay, so I'll teach you a quick technique. And this is going to be, again, kind of generic. I'm going to just use, I'll use, I know we were doing this mighty mug here, but well, maybe we stick with that. We can stick with that example. So this is an introduction. It's in the introduction phase of the sales cycle, and this is a momentum building step. So this is not the final close, but you're building a ton of momentum with the customer, and you can do this in 4 to 5 minutes. It can be really quick. You can clasp somebody at the baseball game. You can clasp somebody at work. And it's just kind of a series of questions where we're building some momentum with the customer, okay? And it's just an acronym. So these stand for, CLASP stands for certain things. And the way you could think about it is it's like a bracelet. So it's on your wrist, loose enough to where it's not tight, but it's not so loose that it falls off. So we kind of have a loose agreement to move forward to close them. All right, so first question we ask is, what's your current situation? So we can use the example of a mug, right? So if I'm trying to sell somebody a mug, I would ask them, I would ask them, what's your current situation? What do you drink in the morning? What sort of cups do you use? For my example at Idlers, which is maybe an easier example if we're not doing a role play in here, it would be, what is your home situation like? So they sell furniture, they sell appliances, they sell bedding. So just asking them questions about what their life is like. What is your home like? What kind of stove do you currently have? What kind of couch do you already have, right? So we're just getting some of those, what is the current situation? Once we feel like we have some information there, then what we want to do is we want to ask them what they like about it. So let's go back to that stove example. Let's say that they have a 5-burner stove. We want to ask them what they like about that stove. And a lot of times this is hard to ask. And the reason that it's hard to ask is 2 reasons. One, we're like, but we want to sell them something else. Why would we want to get them to like the thing that they already have? okay? And we also feel like we're just, and I've lost my train of thought. Just flew right out. Let's just stick with the reason, the first reason. It might come back to me. But we don't want to ask them about it because we don't want to put in their mind that they like the thing that they have, okay? But there's two reasons we really need to ask this question. It's huge. The first one is that when people walk into a store or they go into a selling environment or they walk onto a car lot or they, come into onto your website or however, they want to buy, but they don't want to be sold, right? You're like, I know you're going to try and sell me right now. You can almost see it on their faces, right? Or they're buying a house or they're signing up for insurance. Like they want to buy something, but they don't want to be sold. And when you ask them what they like about it, number one, they're going to relax. They're not going to be so reserved. They're going to feel like, oh, okay, now we're having a conversation. And the second reason, and this is huge, is that they're telling you why they like to buy. If I hear about the stove or about the mug, right, that, well, I love this current mug that I have because it's wide at the top, or that I love my current stove because it has convection. Okay, cool. So now I know some things about what you like to buy. The point here is that we're actively listening. The best salespeople are always just listening. So that's why part of me is like, oh my gosh, this is hard for me to not have conversations with you in this workshop, because typically I'm trying to do a lot of listening. Third thing, so we've asked them what their current situation is. We asked them what they like about the current situation. We asked them what they want to alter. Okay, so the way this might look is, if you could change just one thing about your current stove or about your current mug or about your insurance provider or about, what would that be? Now, if you had a magic wand and you could just change something to make it perfect for you, what would that be? And just wait for them to tell you. And then you'll listen. Okay, cool. So what else? Really, so the goal is the more we can get them to talk here, because this is where we're going to build pain. And no, it's not pain and like we're really hurting people, but we're getting them to talk about the things that are frustrating for them. So, and then if we can, what we're going to do here is we're going to do what's called CPR. And that is going to sound a little aggressive, but basically it stands for, we're going to cut open the wound, we're going to pour in the salt, and then we're going to provide a remedy. Okay. And here's why we do this. If we approach someone and we're trying to sell them something, or we're working through the sales cycle with them, if someone doesn't feel pain, really truly feel it, they are not going to change. People want change, but they don't want to change. We have to, as salespeople, it's our job to bring that pain that's down here and bring it up to the surface so that they can feel it. So we really need to slow down here and listen. And the reason that we want to do that is because they don't want a remedy. They don't want to change until they actually feel the pain. And just if you haven't gotten this already, you are the remedy. If it's a service, let's say maybe you're a therapist, you would be the remedy, or if you're a personal trainer or whatever, you're the remedy to their pain, but they're not ready for that remedy until they actually feel it. And I'm going to show you kind of what that means. So, for example, so recently, my boyfriend's thumb was hurting really bad for about 6 months, okay? It was hurting all the time. He's clearly in a lot of pain, okay? And like he couldn't, it hurt him to like pick up the mug or to do whatever, and it was infuriating to me because I'm like, why don't you do something about it? But he wasn't actually feeling the effects of the pain, right? He's like, oh, whatever, it just hurts, right? And he just kind of is ignoring it. And that's what a lot of us do with, when we want to buy something new or make a change in our lifestyle or our home. So it wasn't until his daughter came to visit and he couldn't push her on the swing. He couldn't pick her up without pain. At that moment, he was like, yeah, I want the remedy. I'm going to the doctor. I want the Advil, whatever it is, right? So it's that subtle difference between knowing that you have a wound, knowing that you have pain, knowing that you want to change your situation or you want a different widget. But it's our job as salespeople to help them feel the effects of that pain and how it affects their life so that they'll actually make change. So the goal here is really just to slow down. And the way that question might look, and really this is so simple, guys. I know it sounds kind of hokey and maybe like a little goofy, but it really does work. And I'll go through an example at the end of all three of those, all the steps. So once we found the pain, once we sat in the pain for a little while, made it a little emotional, then the next step is the next couple steps are kind of a formality. So the S just stands for signer. Hey, we've gone through all these things. Hey, it'd be fun to show you a few things. Would you be able to make it in tomorrow? Right. So we're closing them to kind of come in. So it's not the full close again, but it's just, would you be able to make it in tomorrow? And by the way, are you the one that usually makes all the decisions on things like this? Or is that something your husband or your wife would want to be involved in? And the reason we want to ask them is because the signer is the person that signs on the line. If we don't have all the decision makers in the place where they're making the choice, where they're making the sale, then we're going to lose all this momentum that we built, right? We built all this momentum in the clasp, and then they're going to go home and they're going to get their spouse involved, and the spouse is going to go, no, we don't need that. So better to get that person involved if they are one of the decision makers. Better to get them involved as early as possible. Okay, the last step is paint the picture. So this is just really simple. So we'll just paint the picture back to them. So let's use an example of someone that's, this happened the other day over, at the Idler's workshop last weekend, or it was 2 weekends ago. So the question was, what is your current couch like? It's like, oh, it's a lazy boy. It's got, it's motor powered, so the seats go up and down. Okay, cool. So what do you like about it? Well, I really do like that, that all the seats move out, and I like that, we can all recline. Really like that. Okay. And if there was something that just one thing you could change about it, what might that be? And the guy, Ray, that I was talking to, he said, well, it could be a little bigger. Okay, so we're at that alter question right here. So I could easily, this is what we do as salespeople. We go like, okay, I know he wants a couch that has 3 reclining seats, and it's just got to be a little bit bigger than what he has. Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to jump right into my presentation, right? Let me show you all the couches that are bigger than the one that you have. But what's really important, and this is where we really see a big difference with people, is if they slow down here. So I say, oh, okay, what do you mean by bigger? And he's like, well, just, it needs to be like a little bit longer. I'm like, okay, so why is that? Why does it need to be bigger? It's like, well, my wife we can't both sit on the couch. So she ends up just getting up and going into the other room. And that's when I go, that's gotta be hard. Be quiet. He's gonna go, yeah, it sucks because we can't watch, our favorite shows together, and she's got a back problem, and we can't, both be comfortable at the same time and really watch, one of our favorite shows. We've got to watch them in separate rooms. Wow. That's some pain, right? And now when I go, okay, great. So, wow, sounds like it's really important that we get you a bigger couch so you guys can have family time together, right? And he's going to go, yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. So is this something that you guys both make a decision on? Okay, so signer. Is this something you guys both make a decision on? Or he's got, no, it's up to me. Okay, cool. So, hey, Ray, if we could take a look at, and so this is, I'm going to go back, paint the picture. So if we could go back and we could look at some couches that have the power reclining seats that you like, but they were a little bit bigger, you know, that you guys could both kind of just cruise out on and feel really comfy. Is that something that you would want to move forward on today? Is that something that would be worth your time to look at? So in other words, you say, if we can do the things that you like and we can change the things that you don't like, would that be worth your time today? And they're gonna say yes. Like I have almost never had anybody say no. And the reason why is because how much selling was I doing there? None. I haven't done anything. I was just listening. I was asking good questions. And at that point, you have so much momentum because Ray felt heard. He feels like I understand what he needs. And I do. I genuinely do understand and want to make things better for him. So this is just one example. And I know this was, you know, we're talking about couches and mugs, but I'm hoping that there is something in here that you can bring home and help you with your sales. And I'm more than happy to help any of you with that as well. I know that we are coming close on time, so I'm not going to go through. There's some other stuff that I was going to go through with the sale and stuff, but I did promise Barbara that I'd leave her a few minutes at the end, so I will do that. And I would just say thank you guys so much for being here today. Let me see if I have my little thank you slide. I do. Thank you guys so much, and I really hope that you learned something and that this was valuable to you, and more than happy to meet with any of you through Mission Community if that's something that you would like, and I'm also happy to answer any questions.
Hi, thank you. I was just trying to find my unmute button. That was so wonderful, Niss. You know, I actually bought a car from someone who I swear has been to one of your seminars because he did all the right things. I didn't plan on going in to buy a car, and yet I bought a car. So, because I got a bike that needed a car to go into. So thank you so much for that. I wanted to let everyone know that if you wanted to work with her, I have put our link for requesting a consultation in the chat box again at the bottom for you. And we also have some upcoming webinars that you might be interested in. Again, today we have one at 1 o'clock, how to conduct an effective webinar if you want to pursue the next level of sales. And then tonight, our 10-session entrepreneurial class is starting. It runs weekly from 4 to 6:30 on Tuesdays for 10 sessions. And then we have one in Spanish that will be from 9 to 11 in the morning. That one starts on the 29th. And then tomorrow from 12 to 1, we have what you need to know about employee handbooks for small businesses and startup companies. Not a sexy topic, and yet important. And then on Friday, the 25th, we have Quick Start Your Email Marketing with Constant Contact. So if you need to get in touch with us, the information is in the chat box. Thank you so much, Niss. Thank you all for coming, and we hope to see you again. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.